This is actually the first time, this is the first book I read where I went, this is actually like really intriguing. I really like what's going on. It took me like I was determined to finish the series. I was like, I have to know why everybody loves this so much, even though I wasn't getting it. But I was reading it in high school, and The Order of the Phoenix was the first time I was like, yes, we're taking action. We're making plans. Things are happening. We're acting cleverly. We're facing real consequences. I was like, there's a lot going on. And I feel like, even though it has been a while now since I read the books, I still feel like this movie feels that same way to me. I have some notes for the third act, but largely I'm like, things are really starting to take off, and like the consequences of the things that have been building over the past couple of films are finally coming
A
to
little
light
bit,
here.
sure.
We're seeing what's actually happening, what the world will be like if we do nothing,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. And I like that. I like my stories having stakes.
Yeah. I agree. I do think we are definitely keeping up with the growing with the audience thing. This is definitely a tad heavier than the last one.
Yeah.
And I think that works. This is where it starts getting for me a little more irksome. The things that we are excluding from the books, just because
Uh-huh.
this is where a lot of the foundation for Seven is set, and so and we'll see in the seventh movie things that they say or do or have that they were introduced to in this book slash movie. Well, not movie. That's my point. And
Mm.
I googled it just to be safe, and the seventh book came out the same month that this movie came out, so there's really no way around it other
Oh,
than Rowling
wow.
maybe giving them some insight and maybe keeping up with her own continuity. But hey, what do I know? Which we'll discuss more, I guess, moving forward. There's definitely, I
Mm-hmm.
do think, I was thinking while watching this and all that. I think my biggest issue with this one, which is only like 2 hours and 11 minutes, give or take, is that there's a lot of really cool stuff in this, both Harry Potter wise and like fighting fascists wise. But
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a little too, I don't know what the right word would be. They're a little fleeting, not terribly so,
Mm-hmm.
but in a
Things move
movie,
fast.
yeah, in a movie that hopped right into the action, to its credit, but there's really no fluff. We get right into
Yeah.
running away from Dementors, which is pretty hardcore, very fun. Sets the
Yeah.
tone right away. Good stuff. But for a movie that gets right into it and is shorter than some of the earlier twinkly ones where we spend a lot of time just admiring Diagon Alley or flying around chasing a golden ball with wings. I think training montages could have been a tad longer.
Mm-hmm.
The court scene could have been a tad longer because like
Mm-hmm.
that's one of my favorite parts of this book is Dumbledore giving
Mm-hmm.
the jury the Wizengamot just a dressing down. And there's a really good
Mm-hmm.
line in the book that isn't in this movie where it's like the ministry doesn't have the authority to expel students from my school. That's not a thing you can
Yeah.
do. So check yourselves. So that's not in here. I would have loved if that was here.
That actually would have been really good to frame the conflict of like Umbridge being at the school and then immediately upstaging Dumbledore at the opening
Mm-hmm.
ceremonies, that sort of thing. It would have
Exactly.
really
Exactly.
set that off.
It sets that
Anyway.
tone exactly. So and
Mm-hmm.
then like the battle. I'm all over, but I'm setting my tone of what my issue is. The battle between Dumbledore and Voldemort. Great. I would like two more spells from each. To have that feel really
Mm-hmm.
really like because like what they do is amazing. We'll talk more about it
Mm-hmm.
later. And so it's just like there's a handful of really cool moments, lovely things. Even the Snape memory flashback. I would like that to go on just a tad longer, honestly. I'd like to see more of what James was maybe hints towards some
Mm-hmm.
stuff that we'll see again in the future. Just little itty bitty things to eventually make the movie be a little longer. I think it would be fine. I don't think it would hurt anything. 'Cause I do think when you look at this and take a step back, there's a lot, much like three, I would say. that is not included that really needs to be. We never find out where those Dementors came from. In the book, it's
Yeah.
Umbridge. Umbridge sent the Dementors. We never get confirmation on that. That would be nice. We've fully written out. I think it's Ferenz is hired as the new divination teacher. That would be awesome. I would love for that to be a thing. You know, that'd be great. Another the Weasley fireworks sequence. That's so much bigger in the book. They grow a swamp in a hallway, and there's more fireworks animals. I would love if that went on just a tad longer. So like, I think this it's pretty good as is. In the grand scheme of things, but when you read the book and then watch the movie, it's missing a lot more. I don't necessarily want all the things they do in the Department of Mysteries, because that goes on for a while before they get to the prophecy room. But these other things, I think, could be stretched out. 30 seconds here, 15 seconds there, giving us a little more screen time. So,
Well, really, I feel like what you're running into is the fact that, like, I don't know if it was necessarily a bad choice, because it ends up constraining you in two different ways across the series. The choice to make each story last a school year's length. In the first one, it's too much time. And I think it's too much time in the second one as well. It feels about right on the third one. This one, it's almost like it does actually require you to follow the students for pretty much the entire year, so that you can see the slow build up trickle effect. If you don't spend significant time across the span of the year, you don't understand the story. But a whole school year's worth of time is a lot to try and fit into your book or your movie. I think it's easier to do in a book than it is to do in a movie. So this is one of the reasons why I'm at least a little curious to see what they do in the new version, because I think,
admittedly so,
I think there's a kind of pursuit to the storytelling here that you can do better in a TV show with, like, limited episodes per season. It's gonna be more effective, especially as this half of the story, where the following the students across that whole span of time is actually going to be really significant to understanding the tension build and the stakes and everything. There are multiple times in the movie where, because they don't have time to explain things, it feels like they're just not going to explain them. And now, that, to the movie's credit, they usually do. Like the Dumbledore thing, where Dumbledore is, like, very pointedly ignoring Harry in, like, kind of like a rude, abrupt way, right?
Yeah,
like,
I don't care.
You could have just said, "Hi, Harry," but instead they're like, no, where he's going to, like, ice him out, which is crazy. And then they don't address it till the very end, where it's just a very quick conversation, where he's like, "I was hoping it would make things better. It didn't. My bad." And then I feel like they do something similar with Cho in this movie, where you see her get dragged into the shot, so you get the sense that it wasn't her free will, but everyone still acts horribly towards her until it's finally slipped about the Veritas Serum.
That was another note
so it's like,
I had. Those two things. So that's...
So I feel like the time and development that a TV show can give to this plot is going to be interesting to see. Whereas in a movie, I think, because of the nature of it being a movie, there were some things that were just short and clipped and didn't feel like they flowed as well as they could have.
For sure. But it's also, again, with this being a shorter one, some of these things do need to be addressed, and it makes things that occur in the later movies more confusing. So, like, in the book, Cho and Harry go on a date that's just awful. I don't remember exactly what happens, but Cho's a pain to go on a date with. And so that crush fizzles. In this, they find out that it was not her fault. She didn't rat on them. But Harry has just decided, whatever, I like Ginny now. So, like, it makes the Ginny romance in the next one even less interesting and more shallow, in my opinion.
I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, they kind of mimic the date from the book in this movie, because it's they go on the date and she talks about Cedric the whole time and then cries, and then they have a kiss. So I think this was the scene in the room of requirement where it's just the two of them. I think that's supposed to mimic the date from the book.
I don't remember exactly if they kiss before the date or during the date. It's just in the movie they have that moment as a kicking off point, not as an ending. So in the
It
book,
does
it's
kind of feel like something's starting.
yeah, we have two opposite ends of the bookends here, which is a little strange. And then you said another. Dumbledore icing him out. We'll talk about that more in a second because that's dumb. I don't think it makes any sense, and it goes against what he said at the end of the last movie, which is "You have friends here, don't worry about it. We're with you." That's stupid.
We're gonna have to talk about
Yeah,
that.
we
I feel
will.
like
Yeah.
it's too early to talk about it, but I totally
We'll get
agree.
there.
I
We'll
have
get
thoughts
there.
about Dumbledore's absence in this film.
Yes.
Anyway,
My point being, again, if we're gonna add scenes, we have the opposite of last movie with the iconic "Harry, did you put your name in the goblet of fire?" being in the book very gentle, very calm, and in the goblet of fire it's this crazy, crackhead explosion. In order in in this movie, in Order of the Phoenix, after Sirius dies and Harry is in Dumbledore's office, they have a very quiet, sad conversation. In the book, Harry is throwing shit. He is so upset. He's so angry. I want to see that. I think we needed that. So like, I if I could add something, especially after everything I've listed, I would add that.
Actually, that would be nice because a lot of this film, especially in the first bit, is Harry being kind of emo. Like, then that's a little mean. Harry's going through a lot, especially when you find out that he's not had any contact with his friends over the summer.
I know.
Yeah, so like Harry going through a bit of a loner arc here makes perfect sense to me. But the problem is what's happening is he's sort of sublimating his frustration with Dumbledore onto his friends and the rest of his support network because he knows that Dumbledore asked them not to, and Dumbledore is the one who's supposed to protect him, but he's not feeling protected. So, like, to have a scene where Harry actually gets to, like, flip out on Dumbledore and yell at him, which would then be, like, Harry confronting the fact that who he's really angry at is Dumbledore, and Dumbledore having to sort of hear that, I would be in full support. I think that makes a lot of emotional sense, and without it, the film feels kind of, like, softened somehow. Like, I feel like it cheapens the fact that Harry was going through something at the beginning, and then that he does manage to recover from it largely, but he still has a sort of like bitterness to him that he didn't have before, which is perfectly framed by the Thestrals and his conversations with Luna, right? I don't know. Luna's so important to him emotionally in this film. I had forgotten about that. I really like the introduction of her character. I want more Lunas in this story. It's too late. The story's written.
Yeah.
But I have always felt like if you're going to lay out different characteristics for different houses and then never use any characters with those characteristics, you have wasted a piece of your world building. So to finally bring in someone who is representative of someone else's house, who is using that sort of soft, curious intellect to, maybe ironically, emotionally help our main character. I love that. That's fantastic. Let's do more of that.
I agree. I think I'm torn on this idea of trying to make what's a wizard school's weird kid. Like I can almost appreciate the fun of trying to do that. However, it's just when you're a character like Hermione or Harry, there are no weird kids to you. Because, like, Nargles. Oh, really? You're going to question, like, you guys exist in a world where everyone else in the world thinks you're this kid and you don't have that awareness. I take...
No, like, I 100% agree. I have always disliked Hermione's dismissal of Luna because, to me, that doesn't make...
That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Come on now. Let's be totally honest. Yeah. So there's all that. Let's try to bring some structure into it, shall we? 15 minutes.
Okay. Should we start from the top?
Let's start from the top. Let's start from the top.
Yeah. Okay. Cinematography is weird. I have to say something about it. I know that they're just doing it to bring in the contrast of the Dementors show up, but I think it's too weird, and the fact that we never go back to that style is odd.
It's interesting.
Don't like it.
Yeah, fair. Okay, fair enough. I was gonna say I don't hate it, but I see what you mean. My
it always makes me question things at the beginning of the film.
gotcha.
It never feels right.
My first point was significantly less valid in that last movie hair too long, this movie hair way too short. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter. Yeah, Dementors right out the bat. Crazy, cool,
I
fun.
like that Dudley is involved. I know
That
that
was
like
interesting.
functionally Dudley has to be there for the whole like
Yeah.
magic in front of a muggle thing, but I feel like this is our first move at like a true nuance to character.
It is.
And I love it. I'm here for it.
I was a little confused first time watching this when Fudge says later that Muggles can't see Dementors, and I was like, what?
Agreed. That would have been same note.
That would have been kind of interesting to know going into this. Like, whatever. Harry doing his thing, awesome, great, love that. I took slight issue with Mrs. Fig in no real genuine way, but I think there's a little bit of I know I'm in a movie dialogue in that after Voldemort killed that poor Diggory boy last year, and this is the only time I caught it was like, no, because that's movie talk, and that Goblet of Fire probably came out a year or two ago. And from your perspective, Diggory died like 2 months ago. It's been a couple of months. Does that matter? No. Am I a snotty, complaining bitch? Yes. Anyway. Mrs. Fig being a squib and having been like a spy for a lot of this, I think is cool. Because I remember Mrs. Fig from the first book. She doesn't do anything, but it was cool to bring her into this.
Agreed.
The Order of the Phoenix coming in and saving Harry. Love that. Awesome. I think, if we had a nickel for the number of times Harry has been saved from the Dursleys' house, we'd have like $1.50. But it's cool that each time it's someone different. I did also, though, then question when Harry's like, oh, Professor Moody. Is he a professor? Does he get that title?
And also, do we pretend that we know him?
Do we pretend that we know him?
Like,
we don't know you. Do we call you Professor Moody? And then, in a very fun, and I think endlessly ironic way, we are introduced to Tonks, who I thought, really early on, was a massive representation of LGBTQ individuals in the wizarding world. She can literally change her body on command.
She has essentially a dead name. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she comes from a grossly conservative family who didn't accept her. Anyway. I love Tonks. We don't get enough Tonks. Fully tragic that we don't. But yeah, awesome character. The flight sequence to Grimmauld Place is cool. Grimmauld Place itself is really cool.
The music
I love that sound. Yes, that moment.
I actually noticed the music several times, but like just
yes,
like the flying music immediately caught my attention. I was like, I love this variation on what we have going on already in the musicality of Harry Potter. Like it's so good.
I listen to it when I'm on my scooter, bobbing in between cars and streets in the city. It's so good. It's
perfect.
Then the Weasleys theme and then the Umbridge theme are all fantastic in this movie. Love all that. But then we meet the Order of the Phoenix, and I have no issue that the Weasleys are a part of the Order of the Phoenix, but I would love to have been privy to that conversation, because like, how do you go from head of misuse of Muggle artifacts to some of the higher-ups in the Order of the Phoenix? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just so intrigued.
Isn't the Order of the Phoenix essentially like a Minutemen sort of organization? The only organization provided is by the members.
I don't really know anything about the Minutemen and what you're describing, so...
What I mean to say is, it's a gathering of people sort of informally to accomplish a goal. It's not like a branch of the government.
It's not a branch of the government, but I think it's a secret society enough that... Because, like, Grimmauld Place is a hardcore secret thing. You can't ever see it or access it unless someone introduces you to it. So it's impressive that the Weasleys are a part of the Order of the Phoenix. And, like, Sirius Black is there, and Snape is there, and Kingsley Shacklebolt, a member of the government. They are all there. So, like, it's interesting that these, for all intents and purposes, Midwestern couple with a big family are somehow a part of the Rebel Alliance. You know, like, I'm just wondering, did Dumbledore reach out to them? Because I'm so intrigued. Because, like, all the other ones, it makes sense, because they're either previous members, people that Dumbledore knows, or people who would want to fight. And then there's the Weasleys. And so I'm just, why is that? I don't remember if it's ever
I was
explained in
under
the
the
books.
impression that it has something to do with the fact that they're like an old wizarding family. Like they are
Maybe.
respected in the wizarding world. And my guess is not a lot of the old wizarding families can be trusted with
Maybe.
the Order of the
I
Phoenix
don't know. See,
secrets.
I was trying to look at the picture this time. Well, this time and last time to see if they were a part of it originally because they're old enough that they would have been, but they're not because they would have been raising Bill and Charlie at the time. So it makes sense that they aren't. But I was just curious because other members of the Order had kids. So I don't know. I'm just intrigued.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to harp
Yeah.
on it. I just find it
There,
interesting.
there does seem to be a bit of a backstory there, at least a little bit of something. It could be as simple as like Kingsley, who works in the ministry, knows the Weasleys, knows that they know Harry Potter, figures they'd be good to recruit in, and
Makes sense.
boom,
Makes sense.
there
Yeah.
you go. You know, but like, I don't know. I mean, it's unexplained. There's something to work with there,
Sure,
I think,
sure.
for sure.
So yeah, we meet Creature, little piece of shit. He gets better. And then we find out Harry's not getting any news. Tragic, sad, annoying. I think Dumbledore's whole idea here is really fucking stupid, and I do think it kind of undercuts some of the stuff that happens in the next one, and then like in 7 when Harry is so adamant about the man he knew, but like you kind of undercut that when you spend a whole year not having these characters interact, you know, like, I don't think it really benefits anything here.
No, I agree. I think it actually makes things actively worse. The fact that Dumbledore tries to separate himself from what's happening at Hogwarts makes Hogwarts suffer.
Yeah.
So
Because it also, we'll fully take a step back, like with a lot of the Harry Potter stuff, very much like 3, I would say. It works enough watching this. It's entertaining. It's cool. I'm having fun. But if you have one conversation here or there, the whole thing falls apart. All you had to do was explain to Harry how the prophecies work, and he never would have left. You know, like all you had to do was explain that this thing can only be retrieved by you. And so all you have to, Harry James Potter, all you literally have to do to help save the world right now is just not do that. That's it, boy. That's it, my guy. That's it. That's really 100%. That's it.
which is like, if we're worried about Voldemort spying through Harry, I understand keeping him a little bit in the dark, but just like abandoning him is absolutely not the move.
Right.
I may
Like,
be
Luna could realize that, but Dumbledore couldn't?
something here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I might be misremembering something here, but McGonagall is fully trusted and yet not trusted with the secrets of the Resistance kind of plans that they're doing in the Order of the Phoenix, right? She's not a part of the Order of the Phoenix, correct?
I don't recall if she is or isn't. I feel like she would be, because Snape it. Well, no, because like everyone who knows that Snape's a part of the Order doesn't know the whole deal. But I don't. That's really interesting. I don't actually know if McGonagall's a part of the Order of the Phoenix or not.
Point is, she is perfectly situated to be a guide for Harry. Dumbledore could give her just enough information to make sure that Harry doesn't do anything stupid. And Harry stays away from Dumbledore and the Order as they're making plans. McGonagall is kind enough and nurturing enough that she can help him as he goes through things. Like, there is absolutely no good reason why Dumbledore, in my mind, wouldn't turn to McGonagall and say, "Hey, I love this kid. You love this kid. Just look out for him this year, because he's probably going through something that is going to be awful for him, and I'm not going to be able to help him." And that would help Harry
that'd be nice.
a lot.
Yeah, it would. It really would. While we're here as well, in Grimmauld Place in the Order of the Phoenix, there are scenes in this book that introduce the locket that we don't do, because at the time we don't know it's important, which is kind of a bummer, though, that we don't include that, because, you know, it'd be fun. Chekhov's gun,
agreed.
foreshadowing kind of stuff. Then we get to the Ministry. I am just the taddest bit, shall we say, irate, that in this world, with this court thing, which I understand where Fudge is coming from, because Fudge is like a worse version of Napoleon, not the historic Napoleon, the pig Napoleon, because this is we're
Got it.
introducing
Got it.
Animal Farm to Harry
Animal
Potter.
Farm.
Yeah, because Fudge is
Love me some
Napoleon,
Orwell.
and Umbridge is Squealer, in that she's
Yeah.
she's pink and she's putting up words on the wall. She's changing the rules. She's like all of it. Like it's just that. But I understand that he's coming from a place of fear and paranoia. However, it's going a little strong, and he's like talking to Malfoy, which I'm just that implies to me that he's in their pocket, but he's not because he's denying that they even exist. So I'm just wondering. I always wondered like what exactly, but because like my bigger issue there is Harry knows that man is a hardcore wizard Nazi.
True.
And we see in the last movie the memory bird bath, and we see in this last movie the memory bird bath. And in this movie, again, we're talking and using the truth-telling potion. Can we not just volunteer? I would walk up to the court, take a shot of that shit, and be like, let me just start ratting on everybody. This guy's a Death Eater. This guy's a Death Eater. Yes, he's back. This guy's a Death Eater. I cheated on that test. Sorry, I can't decide what is and isn't right to say right now because that's how truth serum works. Like, like he's in the court, right? Hey, did you do this thing? Yeah, but like because of this, liar. Like there's like 3 different magical things you could do to me right now that wouldn't hurt me, that would prove I was telling the truth. Why is it the standard practice?
Yeah. No, that's actually a great point, especially when it comes to like a court case or a hearing, right? Now, like it is floated that it's unethical to use the Veritas Serum on students, but I feel like that is a sort of making sure we don't abuse it in a school system law rather than like a, you know, we are trying to figure out what the truth is court law. I think the ethics and the morals are different there, but like, you know, Harry could volunteer for it, or Dumbledore could think of it because he's super bright. As it is, I actually really like the scene as a sort of commentary on how systems can be abused for the sake of power. I have always been under the impression that the headmaster, or not the headmaster,
The minister?
guy in charge, the minister, he wanted to get rid of Harry Potter.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know what his motivation was, but he absolutely wanted to get rid of Harry Potter. So he made the case as difficult to counteract as possible. They moved the times, which is something that's very common to do when you're trying to prevent someone from winning the thing. You move the meetings around and you don't tell them. You ask questions that are going to trap them, even though you know there might be good reasons to explain those answers that seem like an admission of guilt. You try to get it over as quickly as possible so people don't look into what you're doing. Like, there's so much about this that speaks to guilt in trying to get rid of Harry Potter. I mean, the simple fact that he was expelled the moment he cast the spell by the ministry?
Yeah.
Like, I have so many questions about how that's ethically allowed, and it sounds like from that one line of Dumbledore that you've mentioned it's not allowed. Yeah. So like there's a whole lot going on here that I think is a really good critique of how bureaucracies and systems of power, if we're not checking them, can be abused and used. And then Dumbledore's, this is actually one of my favorite Dumbledore scenes, where he comes in and very effectively dismantles this thing by just offering simple truth and logic, and then being enough of a trustworthy character that people believe him, right? Yeah. Like that, he's such a lethal like individual to go against in a situation like this, where there is still a rule of law and generally respect for truth.
And I like that he clearly knew they were going to pull some bullshittery, which is why he arrived at the ministry 3 hours early. Like, you're not going to get one by me. I will be here waiting with my Deluminator in the corner. I'll just be here. Don't even worry about it. But yeah, I like how he says the line in the movie that it's become practice to hold a criminal trial for underage magic. It's not as good as the line in the book. And I don't even think in the book, though, it's always bothered me. Like, is no one going to point out or question that this guy, this 15-year-old, didn't use Flipendo or Alohomora. He cast the Patronus charm, something that's been laid out for us in a whole movie. And then later, again, in this movie, is an incredibly difficult thing to do. You're not doing that for shits and giggles. Like, no one points out, like,
or at
well,
the
this
very
is...
least, like, it's a defensive charm.
That
like,
too.
The only reason to summon a Patronus is if you feel like your life is in danger.
Right. Yeah.
Or
So
maybe to show off your favorite animal friend. I don't really know. There is that aspect.
You cast a very difficult, advanced, defensive spell, and none of us are going to question that. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Anyway, I guess. We leave. We
Suddenly,
go to school.
Umbridge is at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, government overreach, government interacting and messing with education. Not at all something that would happen in the real world. Not even a little bit.
It's actually very interesting looking at it from the education angle here, because they align Umbridge with like government standardized curriculum, which is like not necessarily a wild take, because that's absolutely the concern when all of your information comes from one source. There's absolutely no way that you get a balanced education. But at the same time, like, how condemning it is to align her with like standardized tests. Which, like, I don't know. Testing for the sake of testing and teaching students in a way that is going to make them weaker is absolutely... they're both problems for the education system. But there's also a level of, like, do I dare call it anti-intellectualism that works against standardized testing? Data is data. Like, obviously some people's best ability isn't going to be measured by a standardized test, but a standardized test is still, on average, a pretty good way of collecting what people know and what they don't know. And to align your villain with it is making a very big statement about how you think education should work. And I just didn't remember that in this movie as much as it is very clearly presented. I mean, the first time we really hear about the owls, like, for real, is from Umbridge. And, like, she passes out identical textbooks, which is the first of the kind we've seen in Hogwarts. Everything else has been, like, ancient tomes that you have to get from the library, or, you know, giant monster books that try to eat your fingers and toes. And so, like, it's just there, and, like, the only time we see people taking a standardized test in a hall with her sitting on a golden throne.
I know.
Like, there's so much to this that's lining her up and critiquing that sort of thing. I just didn't remember all that.
Well, I think it is interesting what is and isn't introduced with her big intro, shall we say. I know that the owls and the newts are, like, the standardized tests that exist regardless. She's leaning really hard into, like, the government Kool-Aid here, which is why it's definitely... She says the line, like, a theoretical approach is enough to get you through your examinations, which is what school is all about. And that's the problem, because they all have owls to take anyway. And not that I don't care enough about it to really lose sleep over it, but I am so curious as to what is in that textbook. Like, how do you fill a whole book with theoretical magic? Like, what is it telling you to do? What are you studying? Like, it's just so funny. I just... like, and then I
mean, the line, I think that line in particular, it really defines what they're trying to do with her character in education, which is to say they don't want the students to be capable of actually defending themselves. They want them to cross their T's and dot their I's and move on with life, and hopefully not be a big thing that provides pushback, which then, of course, the major theme of the movie is them providing that for themselves, because they're not getting it from like the established source, which is a really, really cool angle. Like, I think the reason I get excited when I read or watch this story in comparison to the others is because for the first time the characters are taking a look at their situation and coming to the conclusion that they need to form a strategy and act upon that strategy. And
thank you, Hermione.
I love the way that it happens. Yeah, thank you, Hermione.
Always.
And just, like, the fact that, like, we get a bigger group of characters too. Like, we have Luna and Ginny and Neville.
Neville's really starting to shine.
So much of this. Yes, Neville really is, and they spend this movie in particular. And I don't know if it's just because of Dumbledore's army, being a major plot point, but this movie in particular, I noticed, did a much better job at balancing like screen time for the secondary characters, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
even tertiary characters, because Harry's like primary, then we have
Right.
secondary with a couple of others, and then we have our like Nevilles and our Lunas, and we get little arcs for each of them in this film. Even like Cho gets a little bit of an arc. Like the characters are growing and changing over the course of this film, and we even see like maybe the inklings of a bit of like extra care between Luna and Neville. Like it's, there's just there's so much efficient time given to those characters, whereas in the previous films, if they're given a moment, it's largely as the butt of a joke
Yeah.
rather than for the development of their character, and I love that for this film.
Yeah, totally agree. It's great. Thinking about background and secondary characters and whatnot, though, I think Draco Malfoy has one line in this whole movie, which is crazy
Yeah,
when you think about it.
it's better without him.
Two. He's got two. He's got when he threatens Harry with Azkaban in the opening, and then when he says, "Caught this one trying to help the Weasley girl." I think that's it for the entirety of the movie, which is just really funny. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of those things that really there should be more of a presence in, because we do get quick clips of like some of the Slytherin students being sort of inducted into Umbridge's side of things.
Yes.
And that's an important aspect to focus on in the story that we're telling. Like our peers are disagreeing with us. There are splits and sides
Yeah.
being developed.
I
But the movie only has so much time. So
True. I do think there is, and I don't remember exactly if it's in the book or not. There's definitely a missed conversation where Harry has like an extra issue with Draco because he has visual confirmation that his father is like the left-hand man. Well, he doesn't know about Snape. He's the right-hand man of Voldemort. Like, it'd be so hard to
Yeah.
not be trying to trip that kid down the stairs all year knowing the situation. But anyway, I love Dumbledore's army, the forming of that. It's great. The conversation in the Hogshead is really good. I think it's kind of powerful what Harry says
agree.
about what he's been through. It's really cool to line up all of his accomplishments at this point. It's pretty badass. The Dementors he's taken on, the basilisks, and so on and so forth. It's awesome. It's pretty
And
solid.
I do love that that kind of happens without you really tallying that up in your head. Like,
Yeah.
you can experience it from Harry's point of view, which is like, I keep ending up in situations that are trying to kill me, and I'm just trying to survive. But then when somebody lists it all out like that, you go, oh, actually, yeah, that is a bit of a resume, isn't it?
It
Like, it's all
is.
horrible. And the way that Harry takes a moment to sort of address how horrible it is and how lucky he's been is important. But it also, like, kind of forces the audience, I think, for the first time, to reckon with
This kid's
the
been
sort
through
of like
trauma.
powerful wizard
Yeah, that
that
too.
the kid has been becoming. Yeah, not only the trauma, but like also just sort of like he's handled it. Sure, he's gotten lucky and he's had help, but he survived all of that. There will come some experience from that nobody else is going to have, which makes him actually quite an effective teacher. I actually feel like the kind of effective teacher he is in this story suggests that maybe he should have been a teacher. Not that
Yeah.
everyone who is good at teaching should teach,
He'd be-
but I think it would be a
For
really
him
good
to
conclusion
be-
to his story.
Yeah, for him to be the one that breaks the curse of Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher,
Yeah.
because he's just been through so much
Because
already.
curse breaking is his thing.
It's his thing. Like, that would be amazing, because he'd be great. I think it's really fun him as a teacher. I do think, again, it's unfortunate we skip in the last movie him learning a lot of spells, because that was a big part of the fourth book, is him learning all these defensive and offensive spells. And several of the ones he teaches in this little Dumbledore's Army school are things that we've never seen him use in the previous movies, but it's stuff we know he learned in the last book. But, whatever. I have always loved the line, and I like put it up on my little corkboard, that every great wizard in history started out as nothing more than what we are now, students. If they can do it, why not us? I fuck with that. That's good stuff. I love it, because not only just that sentiment, but in the movie with the music, it's like rising and everyone's learning and everyone's getting better at what they're doing. Oh, it's good shit. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
It's It's such a good take, especially since it happens in a school.
Mm-hmm.
Students recognizing that they're not learning what they want to learn and taking the time to dedicate themselves to a study. Like obviously there's the resistant elements of it, right? The fact that they're resisting authority and power that they know is going to come and try and ruin people's lives. They're
Mm-hmm.
preparing for that. So there's sort of like a military aspect to it. But if
Mm-hmm.
you think about it in another way, like these are teenagers who have decided to provide themselves with skills
Yeah.
that they think they will need in the future. They are educating themselves. So the fact that this is happening in a school that is refusing to educate them and they are choosing to educate themselves aligns the act of true education and taking education as your own like act, making it your own responsibility, you know, assuming the responsibility for your own education. That makes it that aligns it with like rebellion
Mm-hmm.
and things that are right and good. Like
Love it.
you give yourself power when you teach yourself,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
No, it's great. I have something kind of on that though, adjacent. It's a little silly. Who would you say is the coolest character in this movie? Don't
Like
overthink it
in
because you're not
terms
gonna
of
get
just
it.
pure cool points.
Yeah, pure cool points.
Probably serious.
No, it's Nigel. You know why? Because like the idea that there's this secret army in this school that is led by Harry Potter, all these fifth, fourth, and then 2 7 years, and for some fucking reason this 12-year-old is just included? Dude, I would, if I were that 12-year-old in that group, I would feel like the coolest person. Like, I mean, I probably wouldn't be scared as heck, but like to
Fair.
know that I'm the only 12-year-old for some reason included in this group, like what the heck?
Yeah,
Why?
that's a good point.
Why is he there? Like, it's amazing that he's
He's a
included in
baby.
that. He's a baby. If I showed up to class, quote unquote, and saw 2 7 years led by a fifth year and all these other fifth and fourth years, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Why am I learning how to stun people? I'm 12. It's really funny that Nigel is there. It's great.
Yeah. And I think it kind of drives the point home that they're students too. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that it also kind of makes them feel a little bit more familial. Like
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
is their like the youngest kid, he's invited, but like they have to take care of him, but he's still participating and acting rather than just like being like babied over in the corner.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. There's so much good with Dumbledore's army that
Yeah.
happens in such a short period of time. I feel like the montages in this movie, even though they take up like a good chunk of the story, which is not always ideal, they are very effective.
Mm-hmm.
The like seeing sort of like both the acts and then the consequences and the sort of like the struggle back and forth between the two groups in
Yeah.
the montages, I think works really well for the film.
For sure. My only critique on that is how in what universe did Ronald Bilious Weasley think that he stood a chance against Hermione Granger?
Against Hermione Granger.
In literally anything that involved magic. Oh, don't worry, I'll go
don't
easy on
know.
you. Sir, you're 5 years into this relationship. You know better. The fact that Fred knows better is awesome, but like the fact that George thought for a single second that Ron was gonna do anything to that woman is insane to me.
It really is so funny how like abashed he is afterward. It was like, what did you think was gonna happen?
What did you think was gonna happen,
dude?
Like, what? Anyway, yes.
I mean, even thinking back to like year one and like the big challenges, who was using spells to make things better?
Yeah.
Not you,
No.
Ron.
Yeah. Like, my God. Anyway, okay. Dumbledore's army is great, and Umbridge sucks, and she's ruining everything. We only get like one class
so
in this movie again.
malicious,
Oh
dude.
yeah. Oh, the hand thing is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Ugh. I would have snitched immediately.
She's so happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so sadistic.
Yeah.
It's
She needs more comeuppance. That is something I've always wondered about this movie. That I don't understand how she lives. I don't understand how the centaurs don't kill her. but
Mm-hmm.
whatever, I guess. Good for her somehow. Like, I don't know if they just wanted to use her as a hostage or threaten her or something, but I do not know how she gets out of that alive. I do like that
I
moment,
remember it being better explained in the book, but I feel like the
probably.
centaur moment kind of happens randomly in the movie. Like I'm not sure we are given enough context to really understand
I mean,
what's going on
we get so
there.
one of the newspaper clippings talks about the ministry encroaching on their territory, and then Hagrid says as much. And then when
Mm.
they're there, I think they're just kind of wizards aren't supposed to be there anyway. And then it's as soon as she says she's a
Mm-hmm.
part of the ministry that they're like, "Oh, are you really okay?" And they start pulling their arrows back. But yeah, I mean that could definitely do with a little more explaining, especially how
Yeah.
she makes that alive. I do like the moment though where Harry pulls it back, like "I'm sorry, I must not tell lies" when she asks to tell them that she means no harm.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff. That's real good stuff.
Sassy Harry is so good.
I do miss the part in this book where McGonagall tells him to have a biscuit because he yelled at Umbridge in class.
Yeah.
That's tragic. Again, that we lost that.
It's so good. He thinks he's gonna get in trouble, and she's like,
Have a
you know
biscuit,
what?
Potter. So anyway, let's see. So we're kind of but then Umbridge figures it out when she gets stolen by the centaurs, and we meet Groppy, which is all good and fun. I've never really. It's a very interesting concept. I've always felt like that was kind of a nothing in this movie, though.
Yeah, especially in the movie. I feel like it has a little bit more to it in the book, like most of these things do. But in the movie, it's almost worth dropping. Like,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we dropped the whole Reader Skeeter is an animagus. We've dropped Peeves
right.
completely. Like, I don't know if we needed Grop. No hate to
Yeah. I
Grop,
mean, it's
but
Hagrid being Hagrid, and we like Hagrid being Hagrid, but it just doesn't really fit. And really, like, he only kind of comes in clutch at the very end when it comes to how we deal with Umbridge. And in the movie, just barely does he come in and really
yeah,
do anything. So, like,
yeah, that's the
we
only
could have
thing.
we could have done something
We
else
could have done some.
instead.
We could have come up with
That
another
time.
reason to go out to the Forbidden Forest. Like, there's
Yeah.
lots of stuff in the Forbidden Forest. Anyway,
Hmm.
the Weasleys leave. Fantastic sequence. Love all that. Always do. That's one of the best parts of the whole movie is the fireworks. I just wish it was bigger. I wish it was longer. And I love that
Hmm.
line. That's another one that I've put on my corkboard that I've taken to heart. I think my future lays outside the world of academic achievement because it definitely has and it definitely will.
Yeah, and like I love that that pays off for them. And I love that
Yes.
they choose to do it in a way that demonstrates support to the students of the school. Like
Mm-hmm.
rather than just sort of like bowing out, they intentionally wreak havoc and in doing so kind of wreck their academic futures. But they accept that and make it work. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think that's really cool. I like the fact that they chose to use their exit as something that would be essentially like a protest or
Yeah.
disruption for the
For
system.
sure. Absolutely
Hmm.
love it. Then Harry has his little Sirius Black is kidnapped moment. Again, all of this would be solved if they just communicated with him a little bit. I do think this is an interesting world. I understand it's the 90s, but couldn't you just, like, I don't know, call one of the other members of the Order of the Phoenix, be like, hey, is this happening right now? Because again, in this
Hmm.
movie, we are shown there are portraits that can communicate with different
Hmm.
places because they have portraits in multiple locations. So, and
Hmm.
in this movie, Hermione makes the coins that can, like, not in this movie, in this book, I'm sorry. She makes those coins that can, like, notify people. Like, there's definitely ways I would hope that are faster than owls where they can, like, hey, is this guy actually in this place doing this thing? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
like
I
a
just had a
simple
bad headache,
charm.
so.
Yeah, a simple charm that just like lets you know if one of the pair is in danger or something. Like I could imagine Sirius and Harry having like a little like ring or something
Maybe.
that, just alerts them when the other is in danger, which feels like both of them would want to know
Sure.
about the other being in danger
Yeah.
or something similar, like
Uh,
trusting the communication to be just Sirius randomly showing up in the fireplace sometimes is
yeah.
not great.
Right. That's also, I wish they would elaborate on that a little bit further, because that's supposed. So when he does that in the books, he's using the flute network and just shoving his head in a fireplace. But in the movies, it's portrayed as like a different kind of spell, because the fireplace
Mhm.
in the Gryffindor common room isn't a flute network one, I guess. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Again, I understand this is the climax of the movie. We're building up to fight.
Mhm.
We're gonna fight the Death Eaters. We're gonna have a cool moment with Voldemort. But like again, all of this could have been fixed with a phone call.
I am a little bit of a sucker of like the self-fulfilling prophecy thing, so I don't totally hate this setup, but I do dislike the fact that there are so many things in the narrative. If you apply a little bit of like common sense or logic to them,
Yeah,
seem like they would have prevented it.
yeah. Well, because it's also, it's never really discussed in the book that I can recall. But I don't know how you get through the therapy session of, I went to save my godfather, and because I did that, he died. That's the only reason. Because I went to prevent this thing and I ended up causing it. Like
Yeah.
that's not discussed enough. It might be during Harry's tantrum. I can't recall exactly, but that's just, that's so painfully the situation, and it is not
Hmm.
addressed enough. And again, it could have been avoided. So,
Hmm.
and I love the moment with Sirius Black in this. I love all the little moments with Sirius, but the big one where he talks about we all have light and darkness. Again, a great line in a Harry Potter book.
Hmm.
Love all that.
Hmm.
I don't think we have enough time with him, movie wise, to fully
Agreed.
appreciate his death. But then,
Yeah.
even if I allow myself to feel it as much as you can, because like again, Daniel Radcliffe's performance, gut wrenching.
Uh-huh.
Rowling, what are you doing? Do we have to kill every fucking like? Why did we have to kill Sirius?
This is a pet
Why?
peeve of mine, and I think I started to notice it around the time that I read the Harry Potter series. I do not like it when our chosen one heavy burden character finds someone who they can trust
Uh
and then
huh.
immediately loses them, and then finds someone they can trust and then immediately loses them, and
Uh
then finds someone
huh.
they can trust and then immediately lose them. Like, I'm okay with the whole like orphan setup. It's a classic. That no one. The way to create a character who's a bit of a loner, who's a little bit different, who has a mystery in the past that you need to be able to solve in order to get to the climax of the story. It's a little cliche, but I think it serves a really good function. I'm okay with losing a mentor, especially one that meant a lot to you and was maybe a replacement for those parents that you missed so much. Um, and having that impact your storyline. Putting the two together, it's a lot, but I think it can work. But when you put the character on a consistent cycle
Mm,
of give them support, take it away, give them support, take it away, give them support, take it away, I don't see how they recover
yeah.
from a situation like that,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. I don't see how they stay strong in a situation like that. Now, granted, Harry does have a few things. Like, McGonagall is supposed to be a more consistent support than we see in the films. So
Right.
that's
Right.
that's something we can sort of consciously write in. We also need to consider the fact that Ron and Hermione are largely there for him. Sometimes
Right.
they have interpersonal conflicts, but largely they are there for him. So it's not like he has no supports. It's just like, as someone who values learning, I want the character to be able to bond to someone who is going to be a resource for them and who's going to be able to take care of them. And I think it's more interesting to keep that person around, but to add complication to that relationship than it is to just be like, and they were perfect and then they died.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's not as
Yeah.
interesting as an actually nuanced, like, mentor character.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a massive missed opportunity here. Looking forward a little bit. So like, are you aware of the, not quite controversy, but the conflict, shall we say, with how Sirius's death was adapted from the book?
I've never been happy with the movie scene. Something just feels kind of weird about it.
So I mean, the movie is pretty straightforward. It doesn't
Hmm.
interpret Avada Kedavra the correct way. If you want to be that, like, pushes
Hmm.
glasses up, that level of nerd, that's the thing about Avada Kedavra, is that it kills you instantly. That's not what happens to
Right.
Sirius. He
Yes.
stands there like he was shot. Um,
Yes.
but the thing is, in the book, the spells are consistently very specific with the color of light, I guess. And it's specifically said in the book that he's hit with a flash of red. Essentially, he was knocked back into the veil, which is supposed to be like, I don't remember if they found, like, they as in wizard kind found that or someone built it and like they're experimenting on it, but it's like the bridgeway to the afterlife. And he gets knocked into it, which is definitely not good. In the movie, they straight up use Avada Kedavra. We see her say it, we see the green, all that. But it removes, not that Rowling was going to do this, but it removes this potential of, okay, he's stunned through the veil into the afterlife. And then in 7, when Harry becomes one master of death with the resurrection stone and the elder wand and the cloak for shits and giggles, and he is the, like, he can bring him back because he wasn't dead. I think there's something there. There's something there.
That is interesting, especially if you want to frame it in a sort of like, well, non-romantic Orpheus and Eurydice sort of story, right? Where you have to go through a trial and tribulation and a little bit of trust to bring him back. Like that lines up a whole lot with Harry basically walking to his own death and accepting what's going to happen, hoping for the best, hoping to protect his friends. And then not only does he protect the ones that are living, but he's able to like save the one that was in limbo too. I would have loved that. I would have loved if we could, because like, again, I think it's like cheap to throw away characters just for a little bit of like torment. And I feel like that's what really goes on with Sirius. Like I like Sirius in sort of like an abstract sense, but I don't feel like we really have him long enough to develop an opinion on what he should have been to Harry. Because, like, I mean, there's a lot of, like, this is, like, we're getting into, like, the weeds, we'll say, of Harry Potter discourse. There are people who argue about the scene where Miss Weasley is saying, like, he, you know, Sirius says, he's not your son. And Weasley says, well, he might as well be. And people are like, how dare she say that? Sirius is Harry's godfather. Yada, yada, yada.
Now.
And I'm like,
actually.
The person who has been taking care of Harry Potter most consistently so far has been the Weasleys. So,
how many sweaters have you made him black?
Precisely. Yeah. Have you even packed him like a lunch, let alone invite him to your family's like Quidditch vacation? Okay.
My only issue with that sentiment and that argument is like, well, then Molly, why don't you invite him over for summer vacation so he doesn't have to be with the Dursleys? Come on, let's have that conversation, please. You know.
For real.
But yeah, no, I've always loved that, honestly, because I like sitting back and not fully taking a side, because it's kind of fun just to see two people arguing over who loves Harry more, and they're both I think very justified, because like from Molly's perspective, it's this kid that she's known since he was 11 and she's been there for him through a lot. But from Sirius Black's perspective, it's the kid of his best friend that he's known since he was like 8. So like there's really good back and forth here, you know. And I love that both Lupin and Arthur are silent during that conversation, because neither one of them is going to interject. Speaking of that, though, it's not talked enough about how that moment for Harry hurts. It's got to be way worse for Lupin. It just has to be. You know, like that's his last friend in this way. You know, like of he's lost James, he's lost Lily, he lost Sirius, then got him back, and then lost them again. Like, Also, no, go ahead. You have something.
No, I was gonna say that's another part of like the whole like introduce a character, toss them away thing. Their death is almost always portrayed as like something that's incredibly awful for our main character to lose, which like, in this case it absolutely is. But it usually neglects the characters that would have known that character better because of a long-standing relationship, and it doesn't really reflect back on how loss impacts those characters. Because again, the only real reason we're killing them is to add trauma to our main characters' like experiences. It just kind of feels cheap to me. It feels like we're not genuinely interested in the character. We just want to make things sad.
Right. Also, like, not that this really matters, and I probably shouldn't bring it up for the. Not that this really matters all that much. It's just when we get to Grimmauld Place and the meeting is over and we can say hi to everyone, we see Sirius Black, and oh my gosh, it's Sirius Black, and we give him a hug. That's great. Why do we do that? Because he's nice. He was a friend of my dad's, and he's technically my godfather. Does that matter in this world to Harry Potter, who is not portrayed to be in any way religious / Christian / Catholic at all? But it must, because we spent an entire year getting wonderful advice and support and help from what is essentially Uncle Lupin. And does that matter at all? Does Lupin get a hug? No.
Yeah.
So, look, I love Sirius Black. He's the coolest uncle ever. But it's just weird that Harry is willing to fully accept him as the godfather, as something elevated beyond Lupin, even though I would say they're about the same.
My thought is,
if not
well,
Lupin
you're
being
thinking
higher
two directions,
because of the time
and I
we
think the
spent
two
with him.
directions kind of coexist in my mind. One, it's manufactured. We want Harry to have a parent stand-in, and we want it to be someone that was complicated. For Prisoner of Azkaban, we needed to have some sort of complication, so that was the complication we added. Now Harry has a parental figure. Problem is, we really haven't done a lot of parenting with that figure, which makes the conversation between him and Mrs. Weasley like significant, in my opinion. The second thing, which again I think kind of coexists with this, is that Sirius is the first adult to have expressed to Harry that he wants to live with him and be family with him.
That's true.
Mrs. Weasley has been perfectly kind and like family,
but for some
she
reason,
said, the Weasleys haven't for some reason invited him to live with them, right? They're being nice, polite, and kind. And to be fair, I think, especially at this point, they would lay their lives on the line for Harry. But in Harry's mind, that's all been sort of like a friendship thing. He doesn't have a super solid understanding of what, friendship versus family feels like. And so in Harry's mind, the Weasleys are really, really good friends. Sirius shows up and says, I want you to be my kid. Which is technically not my kid, but I want you to be my kid.
I get that.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is, but it's still weird because if you spend a year with one guy essentially acting like a parent, like Lupin, he protects him, he's teaching him, he also dresses him down when he did something stupid. You spend a year with him doing that. You spend a school year, terrified of this person because he's after you. And then you spend the other half of that year pissed as hell at this guy because he betrayed your parents. And then in the course of 15 minutes, you find out, oh no, and he's asked you to live with him, and you're just like, yeah, that's fine. Can I get lunch first?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Could I go hang out with you when after maybe a shower, and you could put on a sweater instead of your tattered prison clothes? Maybe brush your teeth before, because you're asking me to live with you, dude. I don't know you.
Here to back this up, it's just all off of serious words, and then his actions, which do back up his words. But it's just that's a lot. And really, we only trust Sirius because Lupin speaks up for him. Remus is here being like, hey, no, I vouch for this guy.
Right.
And then to follow up on your point, we decide to bond real strong with Sirius, but we don't with Lupin.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's all explained away because it's Peter Pettigrew. But if the guy I thought was coming to kill me, who betrayed my parents, who I gave a shit about, came up to my best friend and beat his leg in with a crowbar over and over and over again, and then threw it down and said, well, it's because this really bad guy is in there. He shapeshifted into a parasite. He's in that leg. I wouldn't immediately hop on the opportunity to live with this guy. I'd need an adjustment period. But Harry's just like, I can live with you? That's pretty fantastic. Anyway, that's not the point. We're almost at our time. So we have to come back. All that to say, I feel unfulfilled with Sirius Black's death in the end because it's different in the book. It's implied to be different in the book in a way that might have meant something later. It feels, unearned, even though Radcliffe's performance is great. And then it leads directly into this idea that I've had for a while where the unforgivable curses are really forgivable. Not that I'm complaining necessarily, because I would do the same thing, but that class in the last movie made it seem like it was hardcore unforgivable. We're just throwing them around willy-nilly right now. So then we get into, as alluded earlier, a pretty awesome battle, I think. I just think it could go longer.
Good. I'm so torn on how well to effectively evaluate the set for the Ministry, because I think I can see what they were going for, but I end up just kind of hating every scene that's in the Ministry because I feel like I can't look at anything.
Mm.
Um, I think it's a personal thing. I
Mm.
was trying to be as fair as possible when I was evaluating it this time, because I know, like, from previous times watching the film, I've not liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see sort of like the genius in some of the reflective surfaces and how it looks so different and how it kind of feels like it's underground.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot to the artistic choices that I think I understand and I follow the logic on. I just don't like it at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
It's also because like it's not as cool as Makuza, and it's not as cool as the French one that we see later. You know, it's dreary, it's
Yeah.
gross, it's like a great big tube. I like
Yeah.
that a lot of it's a practical set that we see. Like the first time we
Mm-hmm.
see it, it's pretty fun, and it's cool to see like a Bond trader goblin talking about galleons and stuff, and the
Mm-hmm.
interdepartmental memos being little flying paper airplanes. That's all great. There's
Yes.
still wonderful
Mm-hmm.
magic here, you know. It feels like that gross adult version of walking into Diagon Alley and being caught up in the
Right.
twinkliness. Like this is the gross, boring desk job version, but there's still magic everywhere, which is really fun and really cool. So credit where credit is due. I do agree. Watching Voldemort shatter all the glass in this place, though, is pretty hardcore.
Yes,
I
that's
like that a
honestly one of the
lot.
coolest things. And then Dumbledore turning it to
Yes.
sand.
Ugh, 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 ugh,
Oh,
ugh.
yes.
Love
Clever
it.
uses of magic.
Yeah.
I love it.
I just want like maybe one or two more spells after that from each of them to feel like it's like a
Mhm.
full battle. You know, because I
Mhm.
feel like they're really each of them only did like 3 things, like 5. Just
Mhm.
a couple more.
Mhm.
And then yeah, you know, everyone's dead or trained.
There's a cool sort of like fighting off of the darkness with Harry and Voldemort that I appreciate.
Of course.
And I like the way that it ends. It feels a little bit cheesy. Like, I feel like there might have been a way to cut that to make it a little bit better, or maybe improve the dialogue a bit. But
It's a
like,
little
I do
strange.
like the heart of it, you know, where
I
he's like, he has no good reason, especially I think it perfectly parallels sort of like his arc over the film. He has no good reason at that moment to sort of resist the darkness. But then he looks over and he sees his friends who have risked their life to be there for him. And he's
yeah.
like, actually, I think I am stronger than you, because you're never going to have this. You're never
Mm-hmm.
going to have what I
I
have.
I like that. I do appreciate the sentiment of like we have something worth fighting for. It's a little weird that the last movie I feel like it ends on kind of an ominous note because
Mm-hmm.
Voldemort's back. This movie doesn't. It ends on a weird like
Right.
cheerful note, and then where we pick up in the next one, we're like in the beginnings of a war, and Harry is kind of he's slightly aloof because of what he's going through, which is fine. I feel like this should have ended more with him being broken. And like by
Mm.
the time we get to him in 6, he's found a way to cope. He likes riding around on
Okay.
trains. He's learning to flirt a
Mm-hmm.
little. You know, he's out there living his life, doing things away from the Dursleys. This ends too chipper. You know, like
Yeah.
given everything that we just went through and everything we're about to go through, Order of the Phoenix ends a little too chipper.
Yeah, I could agree with that. It feels like you could do the same thing, but a little less obviously, you
Mm-hmm.
know, where maybe Harry is losing to the darkness. And rather than stopping some awkward distance away,
Mm-hmm.
Harry's friends who care for him run up to him and like hold him, and they're like, fight it, man, you can do it, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, you know. Better writing than that. Basically,
Yeah.
like, they encourage him, they tell him that they're there for him, and it's just enough for him to sort of like push it back.
Mm-hmm.
But he still like walks away pretty scarred from the experience, right? Like, he figured it out. He figured out that having his friends around him makes him stronger. But that doesn't necessarily translate to a hopeful transition
Right.
for him. It's like, I barely made it out of this experience alive, and my actions killed a guy who was going to take care of me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to come away from and deal with. And then, like, I am not satisfied, like we talked about, with the kind of reconciliation that Dumbledore and Harry have
No, yeah,
in this
definitely not.
film at the end. Like,
Definitely
I
not.
don't think, especially, I mean, I get Dumbledore's strategy on paper, and I understand that he did it out of a care for Harry, at least according to what he says. But Dumbledore's absence in this film very actively is what leads to a lot of the harm. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't push back against Umbridge at all. all.
Yes,
And
and it's also it's completely undercut by what happens in the next movie. They do not establish a way for Harry to effectively block Voldemort having access to his mind. They establish that he fully does have access to his mind, and then in the next one, he recruits him to help him find Voldemort's deepest, darkest secret, and they succeed. And Dumbledore is not concerned for a single second about the connection between Voldemort and Harry. Yeah. So flip flopping Dumbledore, Albus Percival Wilfrid Brian Dumbledore, flip flopping. Don't appreciate that. But yeah, it's inconsistent. It's all it really is. It's Dumbledore is doing whatever we need for Harry to feel the worst or the best way he can. Because I love Dumbledore as a character. I know a lot of people have things to say about Dumbledore. I feel there's a huge difference between like there's pre-professor and there's post-professor. I understand he was doing some shit when he was a professor, but like I think by the time we meet him as like Jude Law, he's embraced the Merlin-ness of like he's entered his benevolent stage, which is the Dumbledore I like and appreciate. So it's a little weird to have him be so plot device instead of a natural fleshed out character.
Dumbledore is one of the things about Harry Potter that when like hardcore Harry Potter fans talk about him, I have to refrain from the conversation, because the conversation around Dumbledore is always so like they attribute Dumbledore's actions to him every time he makes an action. When in reality, like you said, a lot of the time what Dumbledore does, he does simply because the plot needs him to do it. And it's like the whole give him mentor, take him away thing. It's only happening so that Harry is forced to go through some sort of character arc. And because it's contrived, it doesn't feel genuine or real to me. It doesn't feel like stakes I would actually have to worry about if I were a character. At a certain point, I'm going to be honest, I'd be like, thanks, Dumbledore, for your help in the past, but clearly you have no interest in helping me right now, so I'm going to figure out a different solution. And I'm not going to call my army Dumbledore's army because you had nothing to do with it.
True.
Obviously, that's a plot device too, but like still.
Yes, I like the spite that the government thinks that Dumbledore's forming an army. Is like, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, now it is. Now it is. What do you think about that? Like, I could appreciate that because I don't know. I just it's fun. But yeah, so we're at our time, and I would say 'tis a whale. This is a fun anti-fascist movie. It's fun to see them forming a little resistance. It's inspiring in many ways. It is fun. There's still some cool magic. I think there's some things that could be tweaked. I think there's some things that should have been included that like were excluded from the book that we need. Some that we want, some that we need in this. And I realized just a second ago, the ending is not what we want, right? A little too chipper. The ending with Luna by itself may be enough. I don't think we have to see them get on the train. And then Luna's line, the things we lose have a way of coming back to us in the end, maybe not the way we expect. That lines up so perfectly with my theory of Harry becoming a master of death and bringing Sirius back.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so good. But yeah, for me, 'tis a whale. It's not the best
I would give this one a whale too. Like I don't struggle with giving this one a whale. I do think, despite the fact that it's one of the strongest stories, strongest books, strongest movies in the series, I still think that a lot of the details in it, like we've talked about, reveal a lot of the underlying problems in this series.
100%.
And like
100%.
I'm trying, like I said, I do enjoy watching this film. This film is good. I feel like it's well constructed. I enjoy a lot of like the details and the music and the characters, and I love that we get the little character side moments. It's so much closer to what I wanted Harry Potter to be, and I think that makes the shortcomings hurt just a little bit more than before.
Yeah,
because like previously, I just get frustrated with the inconsistencies of it, and this one, I'm like, oh, but you were like there. You were like right there. You almost had awesomeness.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's a whale. I enjoy it. It could be better.
The story is consistent enough that you don't have to sit back and think about it, but the believability of the day-to-day life is deteriorating, and that I
Mhm.
just had a dream in which I was seeing through the perspective of an evil snake
Yeah.
attacking what is essentially, in a way, a father figure of mine. Gosh, that's crazy. Gosh, that's wild. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, off to charms class I go. Like,
Right.
you can't just go about life, man. Like, things are getting weird. Anyway, that's our time. Thank you for listening. You didn't, but it's alright. On to the next.
On to the next.